Hey guys, kia ora, pagalofa and no mai, hara mai, hoki mai, ki tōku podcast. Welcome back to the podcast, yo. I am so excited that you are here. And this week we have episode 6 of the relationship series. And I believe this is going to be the last episode in the relationship series, unless somebody else comes forward and asks another question about relationships. But this is like the wrap up, because we've talked about your relationship with self. We've talked about relationships for single people, for couples, when to leave, the heartbreak, your family dynamics, the family relationships. And now we're getting into all the rest, like your friends, relationships with friends, relationships with acquaintances, relationships with people at work, like all those kinds of relationships is what we're going to end off with. And you've probably seen a theme throughout all these relationship series that a lot of the things are the same for each situation. Yeah, communication, right? You need communication for every single relationship, whether it be, you know, your best friend or somebody at work or your partner. Communication is key, right? These boundaries is, you know, all these things kind of go through one another. Just some episodes I was more specific than others. So things like communication, your boundaries, the respect, the empathy, all those things, it's for every single relationship. So you can apply all these relationship series things to each relationship you have. But I want to talk about expectations when it comes to friendships. In the single ladies episode, I talked about when you're trying to look for your partner, you write out a list of what you want in a partner and things like that, right? Same thing with friends. You know, what kind of friends do you want to attract? What do you want in a friend? What are your expectations? You know, there's probably a trust factor there. You know, you need somebody who's trustworthy. If you're talking to somebody else about me, please only let it be things that you'd be okay with me knowing about. If I was in the room hearing that conversation, would you be okay with me sitting there while you talked about me? Or you talking shit behind my back, you know? So those are the certain things, these boundaries. There's probably things that you can and cannot do, or your values must align. You know, growth is huge for me as well. And a lot of my friends that I hang out with is, you know, we're going to be talking about goals. We're going to talk about up-leveling, all these amazing things, how we can be better in life, you know, things we've learned, things you can teach me. You know, my friends need to call me out when I'm the one in the wrong. They need to help me, support me, right? So you're writing your list of what you want in friendships. What do you want from a friend? What's your expectations? I had a little look as well online, and it was like, why do friendships break down? And it was expectations. It was, you know, one friend thought that, you know, you should check in with me every other week. Another friend was like, no, I want to hear from you every day. So it's talking about that. Do you want me to talk to you every day? Because I can't. With the way my life is at, like, I can't check in with you every day. And a lot of my friends, like, they have families and kids and they have other things going on. There's no way that we can talk every single day. But when we do catch up, it's like, you know, maybe every so often, but we know we're good. So what are your expectations when it comes to friendships? When it comes, what's your expectations with it? And what's your dream friend look like? You know, what do you want from them? A lot of people I've worked with, my clients have said like, oh, you know, it feels one-sided. I'm always the one that reaches out. I'm always the one that pays for things. I'm always the one that does this. You know, there's no reciprocity. So it's like, okay, like if you want your friend to reach out first and stuff, just say it to them. Hey sis, like I've noticed the last couple of weeks, like I've been reaching out first. I want to know, like, are we good? Or can you reach out a little bit more, because I don't want it to feel one-sided. You know, having those deep conversations as well, booking in a meeting, you know, having those uncomfortable conversations, not deep, uncomfortable conversations, right? Setting it straight. So communication, as always, is key. And I think as well, when it comes to people saying like, oh, I'm always the one paying for things. Oh, I loaned her some money and she didn't pay me back. Oh, she's taking advantage of me, or he's taking advantage of me. We need to take responsibility in those moments. Did they take advantage of you, or were you allowing, you gave the money, you decided to pay, you let them borrow that money, so it's, if that arises again, don't keep giving them money. Now, hey sis, you owe me that $100, can you pay it back? I need it by this date. If they don't keep, if they're not paying you back money, don't keep paying for shit. And hey sis, I paid for the last meal, and I know I don't want to make it awkward and about money and stuff, but I don't got it. So can you pay for this meal? Or can you pay me back? Or can you transfer? And a lot of people are probably thinking, I shouldn't have to do that. And it's like, well, you do, because look at where you are. You do have to do that. And if you then realize, like, I don't want a friend that doesn't automatically think that they should pay me back, or takes them weeks to give me the money back or whatever, then it's like, okay, maybe I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to have these fucking awkward money conversations, with my friends. I want friends who have it. I want friends who have money. I want friends who aren't asking me for money. I want friends who, this and that. And because the thing is, right, if you go into these relationships or, these friendships, and you say they keep taking advantage of you, you keep giving them things and they're taking advantage of you. And I say it in quotation marks because we've got to take responsibility. We're the ones that allowed them to take the money, or we gave the money, all those things, right? It's like you need to learn that lesson to put up a boundary in the friendship, or you need to say no when somebody asks for something, It's like, hey sis, I know, like, we're really good friends, but my boundary's at the money thing. Please don't ask me for money. I don't got it. I don't want to make our friendship awkward over money. Money is not good. It's not a good mix with us. So that's my boundary there, right? So saying stuff like that, because if you don't nip it in the bud, it's going to be a lesson that keeps coming up in life until you learn it. And I've also got, like I talked about boundaries, I've got a podcast. It's podcast 67, Setting Healthy Boundaries. I want you to go listen to that if boundaries is something you struggle with or you want more of that. And there's also another podcast episode, podcast 64, is Why You May Need New Friends. So it talks about a lot about, like, you're a product of your environment. So you probably want to listen to that one as well when it comes to friendships. But really setting, what is it that you want in a friendship? You want them to be reliable. You want them to be trustworthy. You want them to allow you to be yourself. You want them to listen. You want them to support you. You want them to fill in the blank. What are all the things you want from a friendship? And also, when you're writing this list, remember, you're going to be it as well. You can't be a hypocrite. You've got to be the person that you're putting on that list. And you might realize, like, oh, I'm not that person, so I'm going to start becoming that person as well. So be the person, know who you want in it as a friend, and you might look at your friends now and be like, oh, they don't got it. Actually, when I look on this list, that friend actually isn't it. So maybe we stop being friends. Maybe I reach out to her and say, hey, might have to have a conversation about how it's not working out. So yeah, really set out your list as what is it that you want in a friend. You also need to be that person as well, and then go out and attract it, be it, attract all these people, all the things, similar to what I was talking about in the Single Ladies series as well. But I also want to talk about in the workplace, relationships with people you don't necessarily enjoy being around. So there might be situations where you have to be around people you don't necessarily like, or you wouldn't hang out with on the weekends, whether it's like the people you work with is one. Maybe it's like your baby daddy, or like, your ex or something. You've got kids together, but you've got to be around each other for the kids or for whatever. It might be a family member, sister's boyfriend or something like that, right? So yeah, how do you put up with them? How do you navigate that relationship with them? And I think always it's just maintaining that professionalism. So at work, you have to be professional, but also, like, with the relationship with your ex-baby daddy, like, you don't want to be in front of your kids talking shit about them, right? So you've got to maintain that professionalism. If it's your sister's boyfriend, you're not going to go, in front of the whole family and talk shit about that person. It's maintaining that professionalism when it comes to it. So putting your feelings aside and just getting the job done, whether it's at work when, there's someone that you work with that's fucking annoying, or you don't like them, you don't like what they say or who they are, or your values don't align or whatever, but you know that you have to work with them. Keep that professional face. Take your feelings aside, because you have to get through it. Likewise with your baby daddy, you know, putting that shit aside for your kids and just getting the task at hand done, and then that's it. I'm outies, right? Same with if you're around family. It's like, oh, I've got to be around them, and I'm going to be professional. I'm not going to cause a scene, cause a fuss, but I'm going to, you know, just do me and get out of here, right? And it would be making distance between you as much as you can. Don't interact with them. Why would you want to poke the bear? You already know that you two like have tension, or, you know, that you don't really like this person or whatever. Don't poke the bear. Try and get away from them as much as possible. So don't hang around them, but maintain that professionalism. And there is probably, you know, boundaries that you need to set as well. There'll be boundaries you need to set with your baby daddy. No, we can't be hanging out. You just can't pick up the kids and go. Or at work, you know, there might be things that they say and it's like, actually, please don't say that to me. That's not okay. You know, your family members commenting on your weight, please don't say that. That's not okay to talk to me like that. I'm not going to take it, right? So setting those boundaries. And I think one thing that always gets me by is having empathy for them, having, you know, really stepping into their shoes and being like, oh, I kind of understand why you are the way that you are, right? Having that, you know, empathy for them and how they're showing up and stepping into their shoes, not to say what they're doing is okay. And then thinking about positives as well on that person. You know, there might be some positives. That person is actually at work, is actually a good worker, but I just don't mess with their values, right? Or, you know, the baby daddy had brought me these amazing, or we had amazing kids together. You know, that family member is a good mum or something like that, right? So the positives in the situation. And I think just don't give them the energy. When they try to poke the bear, don't give them the energy. So try and stay away from them as much as possible. Just be good, professional for that moment, and then get away. Like, don't hang around them and try to be friends and all the things. It's like, no. And I think getting support as well, if it's at work and things are really out of hand, you might need to go to a next level. If it's your baby daddy and it's just getting really, really bad, it's like seeking other places for help, other family members. You might have to check professionals and stuff like that for help. But really having a solution mindset instead of a woe is me, oh, I've got to be around this fucking person, they're fucking asshole. You know, what's a solution that you can make? And I think letting go as well. Like, if something has happened between your guys' relationship, it's working on that and your point of view with it and letting go, not holding that anger or resentment or whatever it is inside of you, learning to let it go and working on that within yourself. As always, I say to practice self-care. Make sure you've got that compassion, that love, that care for yourself. Make sure you're okay. But main thing at the end of the day is that you can't control other people. You can't control things outside of you. You can't control the way that they show up. You can't control what they say, what they think, what they, you know, but you can control what you think, how you show up, what you say, what you know, so control yourself. Decide what you want to think about that situation. Decide what you want to and who you want to be in that situation, you know, so you can control yourself. You can take yourself out of that situation. You can, you know, turn around when they try to poke the bear. You can turn around and get out of there. It's like high and buys, right? It's like talking for 5 seconds and then leaving, right? So you get to control that situation. You are in control of that situation. But also, what is that person there to teach you? A lot of people we don't like is like our biggest lessons that we learn from, right? So what is that person that irritates the fuck out of you? What do you think the lesson from it would be? You know, for me, it's patience. You know, I need to learn patience in this situation. I actually need to learn to stop gossiping, because I always talk about that person behind their back. And what does it say about me that I'm gossiping about them all the time? Is it me? You know, do I feel like I need to be validated, or I need to be right in this situation and everyone should hate on them and bully them and we should all be against them because how dare they be a terrible person and stuff like that? And then it turns back to you like, is that very kind? Like, that's not kind to be saying that about another person, and you preach to be kind and all these things. So it's like, what is that person teaching you? What's the lesson that needs to be learned? Maybe it's empathy. I don't have empathy for anybody else. You have to be this way, or you can't, you know, we can't be friends. You have to be this. You have to be, you know, maybe they're teaching you to stick up for yourself. Maybe they're teaching you to create boundaries. Maybe they're teaching you that, you know, actually the world isn't all white and, you know, black and white, and there are fucking assholes in the world, and how are you going to deal with the assholes? Like, what's the lesson in there that they may be teaching you? That's also a nice way to think about it. But that's it for the podcast episode. That's it for the relationship series. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you next week. Ka kite koe kia.